Should you buy Assassin's Creed Unity in 2021? Assassin's Creed Unity launched back in November of 2014 and was riddled with countless bugs, glitches, and became a joke to many in the industry. But over the last few years, with the change of overall game design for the Assassin's Creed franchise, many players returned to Assassin's Creed Unity, which has resulted in Assassin's Creed Unity gaining a cult following. So, is Assassin's Creed Unity worth your time in 2021? Let's find out.
Yeah, boy.
One last thing, if you do enjoy this video and want to support the channel, smash that like button and maybe even stick around by subscribing. We smashed 100 subscribers, so thank you all for your support. On to 200. We will be talking narrative and gameplay. Welcome to Classic Game Reviews, where we go back in time and take a look at the games of the past, and today's game is Assassin's Creed Unity. Assassin's Creed Unity's narrative has a love and hate relationship for me. It's beyond confusing how the writers came up with a story about loyalty, betrayal, family, morality, and more, yet the developers executed the narrative so poorly. In my opinion, Assassin's Creed Unity's story is easily one of the biggest missed opportunities the franchise ever had. The foundation of two people stuck in two different groups struggling to balance their goals with personal relationships was a perfect story for the franchise, but somehow they completely butchered it. However, the narrative is still rich in storytelling, but with a lack of pacing and continuity. Assassin's Creed Unity's narrative is poorly paced. You spend mere minutes with characters but are expected to be drawn into a narrative spread over almost a decade, with characters quickly appearing and disappearing for hours on end. Napoleon turns up for one mission and just disappears. Elise, arguably the second main character, has so little screen time, you can't help but think what the hell is going on anytime she appears. These issues are increased further when the continuity takes a hit. Admittedly, this is an issue in almost all Assassin's Creed games, but everything fell off and it just put me off the game. Everyone teleports across the city after each mission. Characters act like completely different people in each mission, one of which was so out of the blue I couldn't help but think, seriously, that whole plot point could have been an entire game. There are some really interesting characters like Elise and Pierre, but both characters have their potential completely squandered due to the lack of screen time and overall character development. The overall direction for AC Unity just seems like an absolute mess due to the game struggling to balance gameplay and fun with an attempt at a powerful narrative, all while trying to keep their player engaged with the open world as well as the side content. It's not all bad though. The moments that are actually executed well are great. There are a few moments that I thought were really cool for characters like Elise and Pierre, but as I've already mentioned, there are character arcs that are a complete mess and take drastic changes in direction for almost no reason whatsoever. So it's a serious struggle to get engaged with these stories due to being unable to connect with either of them due to their radical nature. Both characters see things very often as black and white, so the most interesting parts of their characters are often pushed to the side for the sake of plot progression, and that is a classic sign of a rushed narrative. To sum this narrative up, there's a lot of plot, but the plot is inconsistent and the characters were a mess as well, but the game had heart. AC Unity definitely had a rushed narrative. The narrative could have greatly improved if it had more sequences to flesh the characters out, so the main issue is screen time. With less screen time and less character development, the less engaged you'll be, especially with the way that storytelling is told in Assassin's Creed Unity. Halo Reach is a classic example of less is more. AC Unity is a classic example of more is less, and that sucks to say. Assassin's Creed Unity is known as the last true traditional Assassin's Creed. Syndicate is often looked down upon, so many claim Unity is the last game to stick with the traditional gameplay design of the franchise. The RPG style of gameplay the franchise has adopted has split the fans apart for better or worse, so honestly, going back to Unity knowing it's the last game to stick with this gameplay was surreal. The flaws of the design are still there, and the bugs are still blatantly there, but is nowhere near as bad as it was at launch 7 years ago. Assassin's Creed Unity heavily pushes stealth due to the combat mechanics increasing in difficulty, as well as the fact the combat can be quite buggy. That can cause irritation and ruin the experience. The stealth is easily more satisfying than the main combat system, which was a complete 180 compared to the Ezio trilogy and the Kenway saga, and that's all because of a stealth button. Yes, a franchise focused on stealth finally added a stealth button after 7 years of the franchise's existence. Is the stealth buggy as well? Unfortunately, yes it is, but it rarely ruined the gameplay experience, but that's personal opinion. If one bug can ruin your night, then yeah, this game definitely won't be for you. But if you can handle a couple of bugs and, you know, live with that and enjoy it and laugh at it, then I'm sure you'll have a great time. But what's the one thing you'll be doing the most in an Assassin's Creed game? Free running and parkour. The movement system in Assassin's Creed Unity is superior to any of the old and new games. Unity is so far ahead in terms of movement mechanics, it's almost a joke. Why Ubisoft got rid of this parkour system is beyond me. I will never understand it. I genuinely don't think Ubisoft will ever make a parkour system better than Unity's. There's so much fluidity and yet beauty to it, it's kind of hard to explain in words. You just gotta play it and feel it, because it's to the naked eye, it's just another parkour system, but when you're controlling it, sure, it is a bit on rails, but it just feels incredibly cool to pull things off that you do in this game when it works. It's so cool. Set pieces are also great in Unity when it works. The crowds are bigger and the visuals are just gorgeous. Assassin's Creed Unity is still the best looking Assassin's Creed game ever made so far, and now it runs really well on PC in my experience. Combat is balanced well unless you choose to do one of the heist missions in co-op, and then you're overpowered, so it's all about how you want to play the game. I'd recommend staying away from the co-op for a better single player experience, because over the course of the game you can level up with each sequence, which makes the game more balanced, which makes stealth more practical, which makes the gameplay a bit difficult. So, you know, if you prefer more difficult missions over cakewalks, I guess, then definitely stay away from the co-op for the time being. I'll get more into that in just a second. However, if you have mates to play the co-op with, absolutely do it. The co-op will easily be the most fun you have in Assassin's Creed Unity due to being able to have a laugh at the bugs and just have a great time without having to focus heavily on narrative. So, should you buy Assassin's Creed Unity in 2021? I think it's absolutely worth a buy in 2021, especially if you're a fan of an old Assassin's Creed game. The game is in a much healthier state now than it was when it launched, and is just a great time if you ignore the bugs and just have a laugh. Don't take the game too seriously and you will have a hell of a time. However, I don't think Assassin's Creed Unity is a classic. Unity's legacy was tarnished the moment it launched and will always be remembered like that. Thank you for watching.